Welcome to the Buzz Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Mosquito.
And I'm Maureen Nylin.
The Buzz Podcast is where business, technology, and innovation collide. It's where we deep dive into candid conversations with leaders who are pushing the boundaries in healthcare, technology, and beyond.
It's also where you're going to hear industry experts who are rewriting the rules, and in some cases, they're breaking them. So don't forget to join us for each new episode and like and subscribe to the Buzz Podcast.
Welcome back to The Buzz, the podcast where we bring you the latest insights and conversations and those interactions about healthcare, technology, and business. I'm your host, Mike Mosquito, and today we've got a fantastic episode for you. We're going to dive into this world of healthcare marketing, advertising, those strategies that companies need to pay attention to. What strategies drive growth, a competitive landscape, and what do you need to focus on your company's product strategies and solutions? But before we get started, I want to introduce my co-host, the ever insightful Maureen Nylin.
Thank you, Mike. As always, you know that I am completely thrilled to be here. And I'm really excited about today's discussion too. It's going to be really interesting because for anyone that's in the marketing field or anyone that's even just seeking to understand the intricacies of promoting healthcare solutions, we've got an awesome guest with us today, somebody who's making significant waves in the industry. I've got a very exciting person.
That's right. She's so excited. That's right, Maureen. We're so honored to have Amy Oliver here, Vice President of Marketing for Panda Health. Amy, welcome to the Buzz. Glad to have you here with us. Tell us about what's going on here. We're glad to have you, but let's jump right into this. You've had an impressive career. And coming up to this role here at Panda, walk us through your journey. How did you get here? For those that want to mentor, following your footsteps, become a wonderful marketing exec in healthcare, what were some of those key moments that shaped where you got to, and how did you get here today?
Thanks so much, Mike. Thanks, Maureen. I am so happy to be here chatting all things, not only healthcare, but really specifically marketing. I think that, healthcare is such a special field to be in. And I always say that I knew I would never be a clinician. But ever since I first did my internship at my hometown hospital's marketing department way back in the day, I knew that I wanted to be in the industry in some way, shape, or form. So I actually had the opportunity to work in a hospital in Joplin, Missouri. Shout out to Freeman Health System. So I worked there for a handful of years, actually left right before the devastating tornado hit back in 2011. So just a wild time to be a part of that community. And then where I really got the majority of my healthcare IT marketing experience was at a company called Highland. So they are behind the product called OnBase. And that is where I like to say that I really grew up in healthcare IT marketing. So had a lovely career there where I just learned the importance of not only B2B marketing, but I think some of those skills that you just really learn that are integral into the trajectory of your career, whether it be stakeholder management, networking, all that good stuff. So that's where I really grew up. And then I left there, went to a digital health startup, really got my feet wet in that world because that is very different from a large corporation. And then I joined Panda earlier this year. So it's been a great journey. Like I said, I love being a part of the healthcare industry and just seeing all the innovation that is really going behind making people's lives better. So yeah, happy to be on this journey. And it's just wild to think of where it could go with, what has happened in the last 15 years or so.
Absolutely. And I love the story behind the story. So you sharing really, where you started, the next step, each of those moments, right? Because we come into those experiences really not knowing a whole lot. And we have the guidance and the experience that we learn from others. But you talked a little bit about skill sets. And I do want to take just a moment to really kind of focus in on skills specifically. So do you feel like there's specific lessons that you have had over the years that helped to contribute to your success? And how did maybe some of those experiences help you to prepare to lead a team?
Yeah, I think the word that comes to mind when I think of the different skills that I have learned along the way and really have embraced is collaboration. I think that, in a marketing role, it's typically supporting a couple other departments, and that collaboration is just so critical to really drive outcomes for the business. I think sometimes marketing departments get a bad rap, and it's just like, oh, they said we can't do this. Sales is asking for this, blah, blah, blah. I really try to never say no. That answer might say yes and or yes but at the end of the day, if marketing is fielding a request, there's some reason for it. And so I think collaborating with stakeholders is just really important. A part of that with collaboration is also listening. I think so oftentimes we all come to the table with what we think is best, but I think if you really understand what the problem is and ask the right follow-up questions to understand what the goal is, what the challenge is, and how we can work together for the best possible outcome, I think that the listening part is a huge, huge part of collaboration. And then I think both of those foster the trust that is just key for relationships, not only in the business world, but professionals world as well. And I think sometimes that trust really just sets you up for future success when you're trying to get buy-in as you go into an unknown territory, area, new business opportunity. Just having that trust through the collaboration, through the listening, just really helps set you up for success in the future.
So that definitely listening and data are two critical components, and actually taking that data to help your sales team grow and give them when that bud is needed. That's very important because you're still wanting to help, but sometimes you have to caveat that with, but here's some guidelines and some guardrails. And so now listen to that, Amy. The business model is shifting how we market, how we engage, how we propose our products. How did you approach this challenge, this current challenge in front of us, of this dynamic world shifting?
Yeah, I think not only is the world shifting, but very acutely, when I joined Panda, our business model was shifting. So when Panda was originally started, we were almost like a GPO for digital health, but over time realized that doesn't necessarily work. We like to say that hospital leaders aren't buying digital health solutions in the same way that they buy latex gloves or tongue depressors. So as I joined, it was really important to just understand what we were saying before, why it wasn't resonating or being adopted, and how we could really understand insights from the market to help just make small tweaks, if you will, to our business model. So it was really important to hear directly from the field, even people like you, Mike, to understand, here is what we were, here's what we are shifting to. Does this make sense? Really get that in-person feedback. Events are a huge part of our marketing strategy. So being able to be in person with hospital leaders to understand if what we were doing was going to resonate. There's definitely a lot of foundational work in terms of realigning a go-to-market strategy. So understanding what our ICPs were, what we said before, and how we were shifting that. And just, really evaluating what that marketing strategy looked like. Did it still align to our new business model? Were there tweaks that we needed to make? And just really making sure that everything that we were doing was being tested, iterated on. Still to this day, we're doing that. And just understanding what is working and driving the needle to really drive growth for our business.
That's fantastic. And I think so much of what you said just resonates so deeply with me. And for those that don't know, I am a nurse by background. And so the business side of the house is a fairly uncommon discussion when you are working, bedside care. And so I remember there was a project that we were implementing, and one of the vendors said, "Oh gosh, we've been working on getting this to success for 3 years," meaning that they had been essentially courting the health system for 3 years before they had executed a sales order. So that was a huge moment for me. And I now that I've got that look back, I think in terms of knowing that you've got this really long buying cycle, right? How do you develop those marketing strategies across those channels so that way you can really complement that knowledge of knowing that you're not going to go in and the next day you're going to get that sale? So I'm just curious, what are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, it is such a long cycle. Oh my goodness. I feel like healthcare is while innovative, and I think that's the side that we are all on, there's definitely still just a lot of red tape, bureaucracy, legal reviews, all very critical and important, especially as it relates to things like cybersecurity. But I think that was a learning of mine early on when I realized just how long those sales cycles were. I think that the key is to really understand who your buyer is and find out where their watering holes are and really show up where they are going to be. So a multi-channel approach is certainly critical in this day and age. I don't know what the current stat is, but I feel like a few years ago it was, there are 7 different people on the buying team. Maybe it was 7.5. That was always a little weird. I'm like, who is that half person? But just understanding who those buyers are and what they are doing. So whether it is making sure that you are sponsoring something so somebody can start associating the Panda brand with what it is that we do for those health systems, sponsoring events where we can actually have somebody at the table having direct conversations, earned media as it relates to thought leadership and presenting, or just being interviewed as a subject matter expert. Finding the right mix of those is all critical. And I think over my career, I've been really fortunate to kind of go deep into each of those areas. And even where we are at right now, understanding how the public relations layer, for example, can come in and just help, again, be where our target audience is, and just make sure that we're always kind of dropping in so that way when they are ready or when they do have a need, we are top of mind. You can lead the horse to the water, but I think that you just have to kind of be there and be ready for when they are ready to drink the proverbial water, if you will.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. I mean, that really does. And I just finished the Leadership Academy where we were talking about this and how do you stay top of mind? And you have to be in the room. That 7.5 buyers don't buy from whom they don't know. They may buy from the big 4 because that's their branding and known for what they do. Exactly. That comes with a price tag. But it also speaks to being known and being in the room, having had that handshake invitation to come over and have a conversation at some point. But you have to be known first. And you did this earlier this year. I was actually at in Ohio with you, Amy, where you wanted to talk about this. And I know that this topic is very important to you and your sales leadership team, which is partnerships. You wanted me to talk about what does it mean from a provider standpoint to have the right partnerships come alongside you, whether it's for an advisory or an implementation type engagement. What did those mean, and how do you foster those in the best way for your organization? So how can partnerships with other brands or organizations help Panda stand out? Because I know you do a lot of partnering and making sure that your brand is out there. You're very good at making sure your brand is out there alongside others.
Yeah, I think when I think of the word partner, I think of it in a couple different settings. The first one are those industry associations and just really understanding, again, back to the watering holes, where is our target audience going to get their information and who do they trust? And for us, there are 2 organizations where we are just really going all in because of the folks that they bring to the table, to their events, read their newsletters, all of that good stuff. We know that those are the right organizations for us to invest in. So that way we can have that association of being trusted by them, which in turn means that we are trusted by their members. So that is the biggest way that I look at partnerships and understanding where we can make a difference, to not only show the members of those organizations that we deserve a seat at the table because we have the right resources on hand who can contribute in a meaningful way and really know healthcare. I think that's a great way to showcase that. But then also for those members to see that we believe in what they believe in and are investing and have that common interest. So that's part 1 of the partner word. The other partner definition that I look at is who are like-minded organizations from a solution standpoint that we have synergies with and can partner together to reach the same audience. Budgets are shrinking or staying flat. So it's really getting creative on how to find other industry organizations that we can partner with to do, events, for example. So the buying power between 3 organizations is definitely more our customer base, while there may be synergy strategies, there probably isn't a ton of overlap. So just finding those industry partners from a vendor standpoint that we can work together with to really go out and, make an impact within their customer base, target the right prospects together and all that stuff. And then I think just partnering in general, I feel like that's just such a strong word. I mean, even meeting both Mike, you, as well as Maureen, I think that while it is, networking, I think that a secondary word for all that is just partnering. The more that we can do together in this industry, I think is just really powerful. It's going to be a lot better to do it with partners and peers versus just standalone. So partnering is extremely critical, I feel like, to everything that we do over here at Panda.
And it sounds like, Amy, you're really interested in developing relationships. It's not that it's just a partnership. It's really about developing those relationships that are critical to maintaining your path forward. So I love how you focused on those external. I want to shift it just a little bit because we've got a lot of internal partners that I'm sure you have to think about as well. So I'm thinking right now more along like your sales and your product teams. How do you make sure that you're aligning those marketing efforts with their goals? Because again, you've got all these wonderful things that are happening out here, but you want to make sure that what's happening on the other side is just as invested in.
Well, and I think it's great if you do the external partnerships, but if you don't have that internal alignment, what is the point? So I think, that word alignment is just so important. Having regular communication with the internal sales teams as well as product teams, not only at this current role, but, throughout my career, I think it's just really important to understand what their challenges are and what they need to be successful. So from a sales standpoint, if it's new collateral because they are finally understanding that this one piece actually gets emails to be opened. I don't know if that actually happens, but we can always hope. Or from a product standpoint, just understanding what their upcoming features are, or if we can kind of be the bridge to have them understand, actually, here's what our customers are saying, or here is what our prospects are saying. So just really understanding what we can do together to really fulfill the goals of the business, to ensure that we're all on the same page and just really aligned. I think that's a very nice word that is not always easy to do, but I think if you have the right kind of skill sets in place, that alignment almost happens natural. And Maureen, to your point, it's the relationship. So if I can go in and build a good relationship with that sales leader or product leader, I think all of that is just key in really driving the business.
I think that team alignment is key, especially during these times of emerging technology coming hard, fast, and furious at the industry. You've got innovation on the tip of the tongue. You've got several leaders like digital's down the path already. Digital's there, but it's down the path. Everybody's got digital now. It's where we all live. So, but with that comes a lot of top-down alignment. So your alignment has to be from the senior management into the organization. And that's sales, that's marketing, that's operations. You have to have that key alignment. And it's not always done in this disparate world we live in. We're not all in one building anymore. So it's not that you can walk down the hall and make sure everyone's on the same page and make sure, hey, Tom, today's your day to give this pitch. Are you sure you got the company message? That's not here. We do it over Zoom now. We do it over this media being this little magic box in front of us. So I'm going to step back a little bit, Amy. Let me throw a little curveball at you. How did you approach this marketing stance that you have today during the COVID crisis when no one was in the office? How did you handle that challenge?
COVID was certainly a time of challenges. I mean, obviously for many, many reasons. From a very in the weeds standpoint, I was working at Highland at the time, and HIMSS was a huge part of our marketing strategy. And not only from the domestic side, but we had international business as well. So it was just a significant kind of flagship program that we ran. And if you all remember, they canceled HIMSS 2020. So our booth was built. We had a 60 by 80 booth with a couple other things, a huge program. So that was, in hindsight, a great lesson on how to quickly pivot because HIMSS was such a huge part of our marketing strategy. So we had to get creative on ways not only to meet our marketing objectives for the year, but more importantly, assess the situation and understand how our customers, healthcare providers, were significantly shifting because of a global pandemic. So pivoting our messaging to really address the immediate needs of what those health systems were going through across the country, how our solutions could help them. For example, we had a couple different imaging products and just explaining to them how they could use these virtually, remotely, at the point of care and everything like that. Just really playing up those benefits was really important, and understanding that, hey, this isn't the time to really drive a sales message. Let's be there. Again, back to that word partner. We want to partner with these organizations to really be in this with them. So that was just what a wild time to kind of look back on now, 4.5 years later. But I think that was such a good lesson on how to literally drop everything and kind of go back to the drawing board to figure out what ways we were going to show up for our health system customers and really prospects as well.
Yeah, COVID was a very, very tough time for so many reasons, obviously. But I really love, Amy, how you hit upon the communication, but then also the listening, that intensity of listening to what really do you need. And COVID at least allowed us to be more open to that. And I love hearing that you've continued that on as part of your partnerships with all of your health systems. So when you're looking at those feeling and empathy and flexibility and all those wonderful things, those are, great existential comments you can make, but how do you actually go and measure success? How do you know that what you've done, you're like, yes, that's an ace in the hole, perfect?
I think the beauty and challenge of marketing is that you are able to test things to really find out what does work and kind of real-time iterate, especially as we are in such a digital world, to understand, okay, that messaging isn't resonating. Let's make a small tweak. So I think measuring everything and anything that we do is really important, but understanding that there will be some nuances because of the world that we live in and the things that we are still learning and kind of innovating as we go. From a very basic marketing standpoint, I think it's always critical, especially with the way that my marketing brain works, is always on that lead generation side. So what are we doing? How can we tangibly track actual opportunities that were a result of something that marketing did /funded /ran from a campaign standpoint? So whether it's an in-person event and we had 5 follow-up meetings come out of it, or it was a digital campaign and we had 20 leads fill out a form. But I think that's just the tip of it, and really measuring from the top of funnel and how they come through and where they are converting and where we are seeing a lag and how we can help accelerate that pipeline. All of that is key on the lead generation side. And then there's more branding metrics, whether that's from an earned media share of voice standpoint or visits to the website, ad impressions. Those, I think, are good directional metrics that help support some of those lead generation metrics that are a little bit more tangible to really drive the business and show sales. Here are leads that we know are interested. They have raised their hand. Let's nurture them, get them ready for you. So that way, when they are ready to buy, you have everything that you need. So I think I've worked for a couple different organizations where the metrics part, for example, at Highland, it was a very large organization. So the dashboards and everything that they had integrated with Salesforce and Tableau, it was just a marketing report dream. And then I think at the startups, it's kind of figuring it out to say, like, okay, what does our executive team care about? What does the board care about? And marrying up those marketing metrics with what I care about, as well as speaking to their language and really making sure that they understand the impact that marketing is having.
So it sounds like it's a balanced approach all the way around.
Totally. And I think that one of the things that I had when I left the large organization and went to my first digital health startup, I almost had to be like, okay, it's okay if we don't have all 73 of these metrics. Maybe let's just start on these top 5 because nobody's asking for all 73. And, boiling down what I know is important, as well as our executive team and the board. So I think that having that realization to be like, okay, we can dial back a few steps, and that was okay as well.
Oh, Well, I know we're going to wrap up here, but I can't tell you enough. Thank you so much for just sharing your expertise, your insight, and your experience with us, because I know that everyone will be able to listen to this and see an insider's look as to what it takes to actually make marketing work. So it's been a pleasure having you on the Buzz.
Thanks so much, Maureen. Thank you, Mike. This was amazing.
Oh, well, definitely. We've learned a lot about you, Amy. I've known you for a while now. So it's great to have you on the show. It's been an honor. And for our listeners, you've taught them a little bit about you and what your marketing approach has been to be successful in this industry. So thank you for sharing that with our listeners today. And for those listeners out there and those other buzz makers, don't forget to hit subscribe button at the bottom of the screen. Never miss an episode of The Buzz. We'll be back with more information and more online titillating advice and insight into this industry as we engage you on the buzz. We'd also like to thank our sponsors, Panda Health, Elite Groups, and Natera for this episode. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining the buzz, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Bye, guys.